Welcome back to another Micmac Tabletop review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Glock 42 380 semi-automatic pistol. This is the Glock 42. It's the smallest pistol Glock ever made. It's a single stack 380, about the size of the Walther PPKS, so it's small, but it's actually larger than most of the popular micro or pocket pistols I've reviewed, like the Ruger LCP or the SIG P238. I found this one at an auction earlier this year. If you've watched many of my reviews, you already know that I'm not a really big fan of Glock firearms. I reviewed a few and I own a G17 Gen 5, but for whatever reason, I just don't do very well with Glocks. It may be the grip angle or the trigger, whatever, but there's no denying Glock's popularity and reputation for producing downright excellent firearms. So how did I end up buying this Glock 42? Well, I like pocket pistols and started collecting 380 micro pistols a while back. To round up my collection, I thought I ought to have a G42. And the Glock 42, being the smallest Glock ever made, might arguably have some collectible value in itself eventually. But I didn't want to spend more than I needed. So thinking I might save a few bucks buying used, I started looking at local pawn shops and gun shows and noted for months that there were no used 42s available in my area. In itself, I found that very interesting. Internet auctions had them, of course, but adding in shipping, credit card fees, and transfer fees to the typical final selling price of about $325 brought the actual total cost up to the cost basically of buying one new. My local gun store prices for a new Glock 42 were consistently around $400 to $415. Also, I've never liked the Glock factory sights, so if I was going to buy a Glock 42, I might as well get one with the preferred night sights and at least one extra magazine. The best sale price on a new one so equipped was $480. At auction, I eventually found one with night sights, but also with 3 extra magazines, a mag loader, cleaning rod, lock, original paperwork, and hard case, and a polymer holster. With a winning bid of just $350, here it is. I figure with a used gun value of $375 plus about $75 for the night sights, about $50 for the holster, and $29 each for the extended magazines, the used total value of this gun with its accessories was probably about $600. My total costs included credit card fee, shipping fee, and transfer fee was $425, so I guess that wasn't too bad. But to be honest, I paid less for most of my other 380 micro pistols. So in the end, was it really worth it? Good question. Let's find out. But before we do, let's make sure this gun is cleared first. And by the way, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now, I've done full background discussions on Glock in my other Glock reviews, so I'll only cover the basics here. Essentially, Glocks are some of the most recognized firearms in the world. Glock is an Austrian manufacturing company that began life in 1960 making curtain rods. The man behind Glock's success was Gaston Glock. In 1980, he responded to an opportunity to develop a new pistol for the Austrian army. By 1982, he had secured the contract, and the Glock 17 became the standard sidearm for the Austrian army. The Glock design utilized polymers, which would, of course, revolutionize the gun manufacturing industry worldwide, as well as resulting in lower costs, but also Glock's safe action trigger system completely eliminated the need for an external safety. And because the number of moving parts had been minimized, Glock's developed an unparalleled reputation for reliability. Adopted by law enforcement worldwide and boldly featured in movies and on television programs for decades, Glocks have become the standard defensive pistol like no other. As for the Glock 42, responding to the 380 micro pocket pistol boom that began in 2000, Glock launched the 42 in 2014. Based upon this gun serial number, we know it was produced in 2023, so it's no surprise that it looks relatively fresh. As I already pointed out, the G42 is the smallest pistol ever produced by Glock. The 42 is also one of Glock's slimline models, and it's still in production today. While small, it retains the traditional Glock features in operation and is promoted by Glock as a compact, which is probably an honest statement because as micro pistols go, it's actually fairly large, and that was by design. Current marketing promotion states that the Glock 42, quote, might be small, but not too small to comfortably operate, like some other .380 pistols on the market. This pistol can easily be handled by people who have large hands. The slim design is made to easily fit in the hand of any user and provides a comfortable grip when firing the Model 42, unquote. Well, as far as I'm concerned, that actually is one of the big issues I have with most pocket pistols. But will Glock's claim actually meet my needs, or will it fall flat? We're about to find out. As for standard packaging, basic Glock 42 comes in a black plastic case with a manual and other paperwork, one extra magazine, cleaning rod and brush, a lock, and a mag loader. As for specifications, the Glock 42 is a compact, semi-auto, striker-fired single-action pistol. As I mentioned earlier, the Glock 42 is one of Glock's slimline models. Caliber is .380 ACP. The capacity is 6+1, typically coming with 2 magazines. Finish is black, but the Glock 42 is also available in a variety of colors. The 42 comes with the standard Glock sights, or like this one, Glock night sights. The overall length is 5.94 inches, height is 4.13 inches, width is 0.98 inches, and the unloaded weight is 13.76 ounces. Now before we head out to the range, let's take a moment and see what we have here. The 6+1 magazine is easy to load. It's a typical well-made Glock magazine, but in miniature. All 4 magazines that came with this gun have this nice Pierce Grip PG 42+1 pinky extension added. The extensions are available for about $6 each. The extension allows for a good 3-finger grip. By the way, a +1 extension is also available for about $10. The magazine seats nicely with a good solid light click. The grip stippling is typical Glock. The grip is a little thin for my taste, but nice and flat for carry. I've carried this gun a little using the Amber Ride polymer holster that came with it. Nice arrangement, no complaints. Although it's a little larger than most of my pocket pistols, it can also be carried in a sticky holster. I say it can be pocket carried primarily because it's lightweight, but like my Walther PPK, to be honest, it's a little too large for me to comfortably pocket carry throughout the day. I prefer an inside the belt holster worn at 4 o'clock for the best access and comfort. In that regard, the Glock 42 is fine in cooler months, but I'm slim built, so otherwise it does print more than I'd like. At about 14 ounces, this Glock 42 is indeed light, yet still feels good and seems to have good balance. The grip has that thin Glock boxy feel, which already has me thinking about adding a whole grip sleeve even before my first shot. The controls are fine. The mag release and slide release are at good locations. The mag release can be reversed. The slide has about a medium to heavy weight to it with a slightly gritty feel. Slide serrations are only at the rear end adequate. These night sights are excellent, but can provide sharp edges while handling. Still, I'm glad I held out for these night sights over the factory plastic sights. Trigger take-up is about a 1/4 inch. Travel is short, maybe another 1/4 inch. Pull weight is about 7 pounds, and it has a somewhat spongy feel to it in my opinion, but not bad. Reset is reasonably short, defined, and very crisp. Nice. Overall, this trigger is not great, but not bad either. Okay, let's see how I do at the range. So I've often complained about my performance with Glocks. We'll see if that continues with this G42. But I've got to say my initial impressions here, in spite of my complaints, is that this little gun feels good overall for a pocket pistol. Let's see how it performs and feels when shooting. The profile target is set out to 18 feet, which is my usual distance for pocket pistols. It's actually a smaller than life-size target, only about 3.5 inches wide at the head. The center mass area is only 1.5 inches wide, so 18 feet is a good distance. I'm shooting Remington UMC 95 grain full metal jacket rounds. Very nice. Actually, much better feeling and performing than I expected. Felt recoil was fairly light in my opinion. I like these sights. The gun is easy to control and getting back on target's easy. Can't argue with the accuracy. Let's bump the target out to my typical training distance for pistols, 24 feet, and see how I do. Let's try for some headshots. Okay, my shots are a little low, but for a 3.5-inch target at 24 feet, not bad. Not bad at all, and the gun does feel pretty good. Let's bump the target out to 30 feet and see what I can do alternating between the 3-inch bullseye targets on either side. Wow, at 30 feet, I'd say I did pretty well trying for 3-inch targets. With a bit more practice, I believe I can improve on that. But I'll admit, this little Glock 42 has surprised me. I thought I'd have to put a grip sleeve on it before I'd even be able to shoot it at all well, but as it is, it's actually a pretty good little gun. What I guess I'm saying is that I kind of like this gun, and I'll admit, I didn't think I would. As for cons, and as small pistols go, and I own a bunch of them, the Glock 42 is undoubtedly one of the better in my opinion. But then it's also larger than many other pocket pistols. Compared to the Car P380, for example, the Glock 42 is downright huge. It's notably bigger than my SIG P238, an excellent pocket pistol in my opinion. Even the Ruger LCP Max and the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, which carry twice the rounds, are considerably smaller. So when it comes to carry, the Glock 42 isn't as easy to hide or carry. In fact, I'd say it's got more in common with the Walther PPKS, which I always thought was not really a pocket pistol, but more of a subcompact at best. And when the 42 was first released, there was a lot of talk about it being chambered for .380 rather than 9mm, which many thought was a huge mistake. But it's the 6+1 round capacity that many would see as the real limitation for its size. And while Glocks are usually known for their reliability regardless of ammo quality, some G42 owners have complained a little about ammo finicky issues, especially with cheaper rounds. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the G42 grips, so I might explore a grip sleeve. Hogue offers one for only about $15. Further, although there's a +1 extension available for about $10, these basic Pierce Grip Magazine pinky extensions, while providing a rest for the pinky, yet maintaining an easier to carry grip length, don't increase the magazine capacity. And although I have improved metal night sights on this gun, many complain about the weak plastic factory sights that otherwise would come with the G42. Finally, some would see its price tag as a con as well. No doubt I spent more on this used Glock than I did for most of my new pocket pistols, which many might find hard to justify. As for pros, let's face it, the Glock 42 may be the smallest pistol Glock has ever made, but it's still a Glock. While I'm not sure the trigger is 100% the same as you'll find on other Glocks as Glock suggests, but it's still decent. And beyond that, you can still expect the famous Glock general reliability and easy maintenance, as well as unequaled support for parts. And personally, I'll add to that shooting comfort and accuracy. In fact, my performance with this G42 was a bit of a surprise. No doubt I did as well with it as many of my other smaller pistols, so I may have to stop saying that I'm not very good with Glocks. Of course, the G42 is large compared to all of my other pocket pistols, and as I said earlier, compares closer to my Walther PPKS, which I carried for many years. But the Glock 42 is lighter, easier to handle, easier to carry, and costs much less, about half. And that was Glock's original goal with its design of the 42. A small concealed carry firearm, but not too small to comfortably operate, like many of its pocket-sized competitors. The 42 was designed to be operated even by individuals with larger hands. Finally, the Glock 42 features an internal drop safety and firing pin safety, along with a trigger safety, which makes for a gun that is safe to carry with a loaded chamber provided that the trigger is securely covered. As for disassembly, it's traditional Glock. Check that the gun is safe, then pull the trigger, push the slide back slightly, pull the disassembly tabs down on both sides while moving the slide forward. Once released, pull the slide forward and off the frame. Remove the guide rod and spring, remove the barrel. That's it. Reassembly is basically the opposite. Return the barrel, rod, and recoil spring to the slide. Return the slide to the frame. Return the magazine and rack the slide. Then check for function, and that's basically it. As for price, the manufacturer's suggested retail price of the Glock 42 is $480. But actual sale price of the standard Glock 42 appears to be closer to about $400. As I said earlier, the best price I found on one with night sights and an extra magazine was just under $500. Expect a used Glock 42 to probably run about $300 and a bit more if it comes with its original case or outfitted with night sights, extra magazines, holsters, or even a laser, of course. Yes, you could say that these are high prices compared to the typical real prices for other pocket pistols today, but compared to the Walther PPKS, which could cost you as much as $1,000 today, the Glock 42 could also be viewed as a real bargain for what you get. Now, before we end today's video, I'd like to remind you that if you haven't already, be sure to like, share, and subscribe down below. And thanks for watching. Now, in summary, some would say that the Glock 42 Slimline is a pinnacle of compact firearm design, perfect for those who value concealability without sacrificing reliability. As the smallest pistol ever crafted by Glock, this clever semi-automatic pistol is chambered in .380 ACP, making it a prime candidate for concealed carry enthusiasts. Introduced in 2014, the Glock 42 was specifically developed to meet the American market demand for high-quality, easy concealed firearms. With both outstanding accuracy and performance, the Glock 42 striker-fired action and Glock's iconic black finish are testaments to Glock's utilitarian design philosophy, prioritizing functionality and reliability. At least that's according to Glock enthusiasts. Now, what do I say? Well, I have to admit, it's a pretty good little shooter. Wrapping up, the Glock 42's key advantage is that it's small, yet big enough to shoot well. While dimensionally it may be closer to the size of a subcompact, the 42's slim, lightweight design puts it into that rare class of true easy-to-carry and shoot self-defense firearms. The reality is that small, lightweight pistols are not typically comfortable to shoot or easy to control. It's just a fact of physics. We also know that a gun that is uncomfortable and difficult to shoot well will likely not see much practice range time. On the other hand, a larger, easy to shoot well gun probably will be less likely to be actually carried. I think the Glock 42 is a smart compromise design that has done a good job overall of balancing those issues with a practical solution. So what about me? Personally, yes, I admit I really like this gun more than I thought I would. Very nice little pistol. But if you watch many of my reviews of pocket guns, it shouldn't surprise you to hear me say that I'll be adding a Hogue grip sleeve to this gun. This Hogue Handall sleeve model 18200 should fit perfectly. Because I've got large hands with long fingers, a grip sleeve is an inexpensive solution to obtaining a better grip on a small firearm. But the real question is, will I actually carry this Glock 42? Well, to be honest, I have other options better suited to my needs for now. If I want a .380 that's really small and easy to carry and hide, it's hard to beat my Kel-Tec P3AT or Car P380. For better feel, handling, smoother operation, and a much better trigger, I've got my SIG P238. Excellent little pocket pistol. And as you may already know, at my age I prefer a touch-activated green laser on my everyday carry weapon. All of my everyday carry weapons today are so equipped. Oh yes, Arma Laser makes a green laser for the Glock 42, but it'll cost me about $150, and that would require a different holster at about another $60 to $70, so I'm not sure it's worth it to me at this time. Also, to be honest, I prefer a smaller everyday carry firearm. I gave up carrying my Walther PPKS years ago for the same reason. Nice gun, but a little large for comfortable everyday carry. Yes, while indeed the Glock 42 is light, my Ruger LCP Max, for example, is a good 3 ounces lighter and smaller overall. As you can see, it already has a whole grip sleeve, Arma Laser green laser, and a good holster, and I've learned to shoot it well. And oh yes, did I mention, this LCP Max has a 12+1 capacity, as does my new to the market Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. Yet another great pocket pistol option, although today lasers aren't available yet for this gun. So as I said earlier, while the G42 has turned out to be a pretty nice little pistol, I'm personally not highly motivated to spend the money on a laser and holster at this time just to improve its carry potential for me. But I've got to say, overall I'm impressed with the Glock 42, and I'll admit I hadn't expected that. Damn nice pistol. And seriously, the G42 is a downright excellent good option if you're looking for an outstanding .380 pistol that you can expect to actually carry and shoot well. And who knows, I may opt for that laser in the future. It could happen. Meanwhile, any weapon you carry is better than the one you left at home. Thanks for watching. Hope you'll be back for my next tabletop review. Until next time, stay safe.